You're stranded in the middle of the vast, unforgiving ocean. The sun beats down on you relentlessly, baking your skin until it blisters and peels. Sweat dries the instant it forms. Salt crystals stick to your cracked lips, stinging every tiny fissure. Each breath tastes of heat, salt, and desperation. Your tongue feels like leather, swollen and heavy in your mouth. Your throat burns raw with every shallow swallow. And yet, despite the pain, despite the exhaustion pressing down on every inch of your body, your mind keeps circling back to the same desperate, singular thought. Water. Everywhere you look, there's water. Endless. Infinite. Stretching out in every direction, shimmering under the blazing sun, a vast blanket of blue that both soothes and mocks you. It surrounds you, it taunts you, it whispers false promises with every gentle wave that laps against your tiny raft. So much water. And yet, you are dying of thirst. Your body aches, your muscles cramp, your vision blurs. And still, you stare at that endless blue expanse, a question growing louder and louder inside your head. Why can't I just drink it? After all, it's water, isn't it? But that's where nature hides its deadliest trick. Because seawater doesn't save you, it betrays you. It invites you in with hope, then pulls the life from your veins. Drinking seawater doesn't quench your thirst, it deepens it. It accelerates your dehydration. With every salty sip, you push yourself closer. Closer to organ failure, closer to delirium, closer to death. And if you don't understand why, if you trust the ocean's illusion, that ignorance could be fatal. But here's the haunting part. This isn't just a nightmare reserved for castaways and shipwrecked sailors. This isn't just a survival story played out in the middle of nowhere. Around the world today, right now, billions of people are living a different version of this very same dilemma. They are surrounded by water. They walk along shores, live beside rivers, near oceans, beside lakes, and yet they have no safe water to drink. It's a cruel paradox, a global tragedy, and it raises a question humanity has been asking for thousands of years. Can we turn seawater into something safe? Can we transform this vast, undrinkable ocean into a source of life? And at what cost? Because solving the water crisis isn't just about quenching thirst, it's about survival. It's about politics, economics, the environment. It's a puzzle with stakes higher than we've ever imagined. Today, we're going to dive deep into this challenge. We'll explore the science, the history, and the environmental costs of desalination. We'll ask the tough questions and face the uncomfortable truths. Because solving the water crisis might be far more complicated and far more dangerous than we think. Let's start with the basics. Why is seawater so dangerous? It all comes down to salt. Seawater contains about 3.5% salt. At first glance, that number might not sound alarming. After all, we sprinkle salt on our food every day. How bad could it be? But here's the truth. Seawater is over 3 times saltier than the fluids inside your body. And that difference? It's deadly. Your kidneys are incredible filters, fine-tuned by millions of years of evolution, to maintain a delicate balance of salt and water in your bloodstream. They work tirelessly, cleaning about 50 gallons of blood every single day. But even they have limits. Your kidneys can only process a certain concentration of salt at a time. And seawater, it pushes those limits far beyond what your body can handle. When you drink seawater, you're not adding hydration. You're adding more salt than your kidneys can safely eliminate. To get rid of the extra salt, your body needs fresh water. But seawater doesn't provide that. So where does the water come from? Your body turns inward, pulling water out of your cells to dilute the rising salt levels in your blood. Imagine your cells like tiny balloons filled with precious water. As the salt concentration rises, those balloons begin to shrivel and collapse, squeeze dry from the inside out. One by one, your cells lose their moisture. Your tissues shrink, your organs strain. The very systems that keep you alive begin to falter. Ironically, the more seawater you drink, the thirstier and more dehydrated you become. In a survival situation, this process is alarmingly fast. Within just a few hours, dehydration symptoms set in: a dry mouth that feels like sandpaper, a pounding headache, muscle cramps that ripple across your limbs like electric shocks. As the hours pass, the symptoms worsen. Your lips crack and bleed. Your skin loses its elasticity. Your pulse grows weak and rapid. By the end of the first day, confusion clouds your mind. You forget where you are. You start seeing things that aren't there, ships on the horizon, rain clouds overhead, even rescuers calling your name. but they're all mirages, cruel tricks of a brain starved for water. Unless you find fresh water soon, your body's systems will begin to shut down. Your kidneys fail. Your heart struggles. Eventually, even your brain gives out. It's no wonder ancient sailors feared seawater as much as they feared storms. To them, seawater wasn't a source of life. It was a treacherous deceiver. It promised salvation but delivered death. Some called it the deceiver. Others called it the great illusion. But all knew the same hard lesson: surrounded by water, yet dying of thirst. Humans have known about the dangers of seawater for thousands of years, and for just as long, we've been trying to solve the problem. Did you know that Aristotle wrote about desalination in the 4th century BCE? He described how sailors would boil seawater and capture the steam to produce fresh water. It was crude, but it worked. This process, now known as thermal desalination, was the foundation for many future attempts. In the centuries that followed, people experimented with everything from solar stills to complex distillation devices. Every civilization living near saltwater faced the same challenge: how to separate the salt from the life-giving water. Fast forward to today, and the basic principle remains the same. We're still trying to remove the salt, but the scale and the stakes have grown immeasurably. Right now, more than 20,000 desalination plants are operating around the world. Every day, they produce over 100 million cubic meters of fresh water. Countries like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Israel rely heavily on desalination to meet their water needs. In a world where billions lack access to clean water, desalination seems like a miracle solution. We have oceans full of water. Surely technology can turn that into drinking water for everyone. But here's the catch: desalination isn't as simple or as clean as it sounds. Let's talk about thermal desalination, the modern descendant of Aristotle's ancient method. In this process, seawater is heated until it evaporates, leaving salt behind. Then the vapor is cooled and condensed into fresh water. Sounds effective, right? It is, but it's also incredibly energy intensive. Most thermal desalination plants rely on fossil fuels to generate the heat required. That means every liter of water comes with a carbon footprint. And in a time when we're trying to reduce emissions, that's a big problem. But the environmental issues don't stop there. Thermal desalination also creates a byproduct called brine, a highly concentrated salt solution. Where does that brine go? Most often, it's dumped back into the ocean. At first glance, that might not seem like a big deal. After all, it's going back where it came from. But brine is saltier and often warmer than natural seawater. When large amounts are released into coastal areas, it can disrupt marine ecosystems, kill delicate organisms, and throw off the balance of local habitats. We've solved one problem by creating another. Thankfully, there's another method gaining popularity: reverse osmosis. Instead of using heat, this process uses pressure. Seawater is forced through a special membrane that filters out the salt molecules, leaving fresh water on the other side. Reverse osmosis uses less energy than thermal methods and produces less brine. It's more efficient, more sustainable. And thanks to advances in membrane technology, it's becoming more affordable. In fact, reverse osmosis now accounts for over 60% of the world's desalination capacity. But before we celebrate, there's still a reality check. Even reverse osmosis isn't perfect. The membranes are expensive and delicate. They clog easily. They require constant maintenance and replacement. And the process still produces brine, just in smaller amounts. Plus, desalination plants cost millions, sometimes billions, to build. For many developing countries, that price tag is out of reach. So, if desalination isn't a silver bullet, what other options do we have? One promising solution is wastewater recycling. Instead of trying to create new fresh water from seawater, we treat the water we've already used. Cities like Singapore and Los Angeles are leading the way, turning wastewater into drinking water that's safe, clean, and surprisingly cost-effective. With modern filtration and reverse osmosis systems, recycled water can meet or exceed drinking water standards. And unlike desalination, wastewater recycling uses less energy and doesn't create harmful brine waste. It's a win-win. But there's one barrier: public perception. For many people, the idea of drinking recycled sewage triggers an emotional ick factor. Even if the water is scientifically proven safe, overcoming that psychological hurdle takes time. Let's zoom back out to that lone survivor on the raft. No desalination plant, no recycling facility. Just you, the sun, and the sea. What can you do? Your best bet is to collect rainwater. Use plastic sheets, tarps, or even clothing to funnel rain into containers. You can also use solar stills, devices that use the sun's heat to evaporate seawater and collect the condensation as fresh water. In extreme cases, you might extract fluids from fish or certain animals. But whatever you do, don't drink seawater, not even a little. It's one of nature's cruel ironies, surrounded by water, but dying of thirst. Today, nearly 2 billion people live in water-stressed regions. Climate change is making droughts worse, populations are growing, freshwater resources are shrinking. Desalination is part of the solution, but it's not the whole answer. Every method comes with trade-offs: energy use, environmental impact, cost, public acceptance. The challenge isn't just technological, it's social, political, economic. Because at the end of the day, water is more than just a resource. It's life itself. And if we're going to ensure a future where everyone has access to safe, clean water, we'll need more than just machines. We'll need ingenuity, cooperation, and the courage to make tough choices. Because water might be everywhere, but without action, it's still out of reach.